Dr. Yogesh Patel comes in to face the property angels to secure £300,000 worth of funding for a commercial to residential conversion project. It's a simple project to take a former office building and convert it into 3 studio flats. Now, this is the bread and butter way to make real money in today's property market. This is a subject that I know quite a bit about and I run some specialist training on. And in particular, this week, I'm hosting a free 90-minute webinar to get you introduced to the wonderful world of commercial conversions in today's challenging property market. To register for your place for that, just do so on the link below. It's property-workshop.com. Our property entrepreneurs pitch for funding from property angels John Howard, Helen Chorley, Paul Mahoney, Nicholas Wallwork, and myself, Ranjan Bhattacharya. What you're about to see is the pitch that was televised on Sky 192, but what I'm going to sort of interject is my sort of reaction and background commentary and analysis for the pitch and the deal. Now, there are plenty more of these pitch videos on all sorts of property deals which you can watch on this playlist, and links to some of them are in the description for this video. So do binge watch, they're a lot of fun. But now let me hand you over to the show's presenter, Elizabeth Warburton, who has a chat to Yogesh before he comes into the den to face the angels.
Yogesh, welcome to Property Elevator. It's great to have you here with us.
Thank you so much. It's really, really exciting today. Thank you.
Good. So tell us a little bit about your pitch and what you're after from the angels today.
Okay, so I've got an office in Crystal Palace, South London, and I'm going to convert it into 3 flats, ideally. And the profit should be in the order of £200,000, and I'm asking them for £300,000, and after 12 months they'll get their money back and we'll share the £200,000 between us. Right,
so a nice 50-50 split of the profit.
I might be a bit more generous actually.
Oh.
I'm quite keen on getting their experience and getting them on board, so I might do 60-40.
Okay.
I'd be happy with that.
Okay, so we've now got Yogesh coming in to see us, who's quite an experienced developer. He's got a number of properties in London already. This is a ground floor and basement office at the moment that he wants to convert into 3 flats. Shall we get him in and see what...
You can see my interest is perked up immediately there because this is a commercial to residential conversion opportunity. Nice, simple, bread and butter, easy to turn a profit with these sort of deals. Let's see how this turns out.
He's got to say. Good afternoon, Yogesh. Thank you very much for coming in to see us. We're slightly humbled by you because one of you are a doctor. So if anything happens to any of us, we know we're in good hands.
You are.
And I'd like to think you're in good hands with us as well.
I hope so.
And also you're an experienced developer and investor yourself. So,
correct.
You know, once again, to have someone of your quality come to see us and pitch is we're very, very grateful. Yogesh, do you want to just tell us very briefly about yourself, because I've said a bit anyway, and then the deal, and then we can take it from there.
My name's Yogesh Patel, as you said. I'm a GP, I'm a doctor in Croydon, and I've been investing in property deals since 2002. I brought to you a deal. It's an office. They're hard to come by nowadays in London, but it's an office in a conservation area, which I'm going to convert into 3 flats. It's got a long lease, 125 years, but the freeholder is available to buy at an additional cost if you choose to, but the freeholder is happy and consented for all the works I'm going to describe. Now
So what's not to like here, really? An experienced developer and property investor with a professional background, lives in the local area where he's found this particular project, and it appears to be a nice small office building which he's going to use permitted development rights to convert into flats. The fact that it's in a conservation area doesn't matter because Class O permitted development conversion of office to resi is permittable in conservation areas.
88 metre square office. It was a private investigator office. They just closed down the business after 20 years. I know the current owner really, really well, and I've got a really good relationship with them. They're happy to let the property go for $450,000, which is a ground and a basement at the moment. Using this relationship, they will take $100,000 now, and they'll take the $350,000 when the flats are sold, so less money in the deal. My planning consultant visited already. I got him to visit on Monday actually. He thinks this is a Class O, general permitted development rights, no problem. The 5 criteria, he said there's no problems. I can go into the five criteria if you want me.
Excellent that he's done his homework there, and this is exactly what he's talking about, Class O convert, which allows you to convert office buildings into residential use. There are certain criteria that you must abide by for it to be eligible for that permitted development right, and he's called in a planning consultant to verify that for him, which is absolutely the correct thing to do.
Later, natural light with a light well. Builder said that's no problem to build. Each flat will sell for £300,000. I'm sure that's true. I've got sold prices of around 325. The build cost is 200,000. I haven't had time to do specifications.
No, it's understandable.
Build.
Very disappointing, really. He should have had. Why not? He's had the project for a week. No, seriously, he's done a huge amount in a very short space of time because this deal has just landed on his lap.
But I'm pretty sure it's correct. I did get 3 builds going. They gave me an idea. And
with builders' quotes, it's important to just go on rules of thumb. You look at the square footage, you look at the fact that it's sold in building, and he has made a prudent estimate of what the building costs are likely to be.
At £2,200 a square metre, which I think is about right.
Yep.
You buy for 450. There's 50,000 ancillary costs, which is detailed in the pack, which I'm actually happy to contribute towards myself. So the total costing is £700,000. Total sales, 3 times 300, £900,000. So the profit to share between us is £200,000. 12-month project after the planning, build and selling them on. So I'm looking for the £100,000 deposit that the vendor wants and the £200,000 for the build. I'm happy to split that 60% you guys, 40% to myself. I will also be open to offers. I will also be paying 10% on any interest on any cash that's brought in as well, because I think that's fair. I'm happy if you have as much involvement or little involvement as you want. Obviously, I like your experience and expertise on this, but I'm happy to manage it all by myself. I've got a team ready to go, planning going next week if you want. I think in summary, love to work with you guys. I know you have fun with me, we'll make money together. You'll get 300 grand back in 12 months. You'll get an extra 120 grand check on top. Happy to answer any questions.
Now, if you're looking to apply to be on the next series of Property Elevator to pitch for funding for your property development project, there's a lot you can learn from that particular pitch. Very well articulated. He presented us with a pack with all the details of the deal in there, which we could look over. He was very clear about what he wanted. He was very clear about the financing that he needs to complete the project and the timings of the fund injection that we need to make during the course of the deal. He's very clear about the results and the timescales for achieving the results, and he also covered off a lot of the risks. He basically pre-answered a lot of questions that we'd ask as follow-up questions, which demonstrates that he's thought about all these things and he's kind of mitigated all these risks and thought about what he's going to do if those risks actually occurred, which is very, very good.
Yeah, I don't mind starting. I'm interested in the basement in particular. That's obviously a key part of the development. How many units, how are the 3 units spread out? Are they...
So the basement will be 1 flat, and there'll be 1 flat at the front and 1 flat at the back on the ground. That's how it works.
On the ground, yeah, okay. And are you proposing light wells down the side passage and at the rear of the property on the sort of L shape of that?
Middle of the alleyway at the back.
The alleyway, yeah.
Yeah, in there, and that'll be the light well to the basement.
Okay, just
And
one
then
light well?
1 light well, that's
Okay.
it. And there'll be a common entrance in that area too.
Is it a smaller unit in the basement then? 1 bed? Is it a studio or is it a full 1 bed?
They're probably going to be 30 metres square, so they're probably going to be studios realistically.
What Nicholas is trying to get at here is, and he's starting with the basement, because, you know, doing flats above ground floor is pretty much bread and butter, because above ground floor you've got windows, you've got natural light. So the thing about basement flats is that basement flats work best if when you're in them, it doesn't feel that you're in a pokey basement. And the 2 things that you have to worry about is natural light coming into the basement and ceiling height. There needs to be a generous ceiling height so you just don't feel enclosed when you're down there.
So all 3 studios, yeah, okay. And on that point, actually, you picked up on my next question
Yes.
straight away. You've said it's 88 square metres of
Yes.
office. Is that net or gross? And the reason I'm asking is if you've got 3 at 90, that obviously adds up
Yep.
to 90.
Yep.
3 at 30 adds up to 90
Yeah,
square
good
metres, not
question.
88.
Yeah, there'll be a rear extension, which my planning consultant says is no problem, probably 2 or 3 metres deep at the back, and that
Right,
gives you
okay.
space.
Because that's critical for selling these on for finance. Obviously, a lot of mortgage companies won't allow lending under 30 square metres.
Hence the
So,
30.
So what we're talking about there is you can make under permitted development at the moment a flat of any size you like. Now new rules are coming in, minimum space standards are coming in, which will dictate that all flats made under permitted development will have to be a minimum of 37 square metres. But this was filmed at a time when there was no minimum size. Now, so under planning, there's no minimum size, but there soon will be this minimum size of 37 square metres. But the mortgage companies do have a minimum size they consider to be a viable flat on which they'll lend on, and that is 30 square metres. So the question that Nicholas is alluding to is that the total, the guy, Yogesh wants to make 3 flats, but the total area of the whole site doesn't really allow for 3 flats right now, which are a minimum of 30 square metres. So that's why he'll need to do a small extension on the ground floor to actually make the extra space to make that all possible.
yeah, okay.
That's a
Good,
very
you
good
know your
point,
stuff there.
Nicholas, yeah.
Very good.
It's a great pack, by the way. You know, it's got numbers, it's got detail, it's got photos, it's got humour, it's got a bit about you. I really, really like that. So well done.
Are you referring to John's book in the humour part?
That's rude. That's just rude.
I guess I'm always looking at exits. So if you're looking to sell studio, what's the kind of the demand for studios in that area?
In that triangle, people want to live there, and
Right.
it will fly. I'm sure. I work very near that area for 10 years.
Yeah.
I own property in that area. I know the prices.
And you say you've been conservative with the 300 grand
Yes.
price. And you think that's a reasonable price for a basement as well?
It's a flat in the triangle, and yes, the answer is yes.
What do you expect? How realistic do you think a year is for this entire project?
I don't see a problem. Prior approval is 42 days, I believe. And as I said, that can go
56.
in. Sorry, apologies.
56 for prior approval.
I
56.
thought it was less than that, no?
56.
Is it?
Unless they've just changed it.
No.
Haven't double checked.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what they're talking about there, a little bit of a mix-up, is 56 days. So when you actually, it's permitted development, but it's subject to a prior approval process. So when you want to convert an office building into residential use, you submit an application to the council, which is called a prior approval application, and they have 56 days to decide on it. And if they don't get back to you in that time, it's deemed consent, meaning you get it anyway.
56 days for that, and I can submit. It can be submitted next week. So that's a couple of months. During that period, I'll get the building drawings, the structural calculations, specifications with the project manager. So the build will start after 56 days. Build time, they told me, is 4 months. Let's say 6 months. And then, so what have you got? Is that month 8 now? So 4 months to market and sell, completely legally.
So that's actual return of funds within 12 months?
Yes.
And have you factored in anything about, because obviously we're going into an interesting economic time, have you factored anything in, looked at any kind of sensitivity analysis on if the market goes down and what that does to the numbers?
So I predict a 10% dip. I think that's true. I'm hoping this will be 6 months. I think the dip will come after 6 months. That's what I believe. So I think we will miss that. But if it's a 10% dip, then your profit will go down, and then you've got options of whether you want to take the lower profit or whether you want to wait.
It's always good to be conservative with your numbers when you do a build-out project. But the one thing about this particular location is it is a very hot location. It is a place where people definitely want to live. And the thing with studios, particularly in those sort of locations, they always have a floor value, if you like, because they have so much buoyant rental demand for them. So personally, I think he's being a bit over-conservative with his outlook, but that is good.
The money out and take it later, and that we can discuss that if the market does crash. Yeah.
If we have the rental 3 out, what's the rental?
The studio 1,200.
1,200 a month each.
Yeah, each, yes.
So what John's asking about is, okay, if for any reason these 3 studio flats can't be sold at the end, is it a viable proposition to keep them as rental propositions?
A lot of the questions I would have asked have just been answered by reading it, so it's hard to come up with any further over and above what everyone else has already asked. I like it. It's very interestingly, it's pretty similar to something that I've been looking for with my business partners, and it seems to stack up. Obviously subject to the planning, but that doesn't look like it would be a problem. Yeah, like I don't disagree with the rental figure you mentioned. I don't disagree with the values. I live about a mile around the corner from here, so
okay.
I know the area relatively well.
Great, that's not helped us, has it?
Yeah.
John's looking worried, isn't he?
Do you want to buy them?
And I like how many different options you've covered. There's I don't think there's much to add to what you've given, which is a compliment to you.
I love it. It's up my street. Not geographically, but it's up my street in terms of the type of project. I just want to ask a couple of questions about the basement. So there's an existing basement there.
Yes.
And do you know what the ceiling height is there? And what's it used for? Is it habitable at the moment? Or?
I've been in it. The pictures are there. It's very dry and clean. The ceiling will need to be raised, and that's in the build.
So it'll need to be dug.
No. There's lots of height on the ground floor.
Oh, you're doing it that way. That's clever. So, now you can see me putting a thumbs up there. Now let me explain what this is about. Many of these Victorian buildings have purpose-built basements. They were built like that by the good old Victorians, and they've been there for 100 years and they're great. But sometimes what you have, or a lot of the times you have a limited ceiling height on that basement level. Now, if you want to extend that ceiling height in the basement, there are 2 ways you can go. You can dig down, or you can raise the ground floor a little bit. Now, digging down is very expensive, and it's very messy and time consuming. And then you've got to underpin all the walls, and if it's a terrace building like this is, you've got party wall agreements. It can be a real nightmare. Now, the great thing about these sort of Victorian buildings is that the ground floor often has the largest floor-to-ceiling height of any of the other floors. And you'll typically see, like in this building, the floor-to-ceiling height on the ground floor was 3 meters or a little bit more. So what that allows you to do is simply raise the floor level of the ground floor to make the basement taller. That is a very cost-effective way of making a basement very habitable indeed.
So only the front part of the building, the office part, has a split level, so that bit will be raised. The rest, the back part, has enough head height. It's just the front part that doesn't.
The basement is under the entire footprint of the ground floor, is it?
The basement is not dug out the whole length. The width, yes.
But it's enough for that one flat.
It's definitely 30 metres square.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's a sketch with the measurements, then it's definitely been measured.
Have you priced in to tank the basements?
No, I'll be honest. The builder's seen it, and they didn't comment on it, and I didn't think of it until they left.
And the tanking is probably, I'm guessing, 10, 12 grand, something like that,
yeah.
I would have thought. For the warranties, 10-year warranties, you'll need that. So I think we can add 10 grand onto your costs. On the other issue is the builder you're using. Sounds like you know the builder.
Yes.
Has he done lots of other jobs for you? Of this.
Yes.
He's got enough experience to do it.
Definitely.
Does he give you a fixed price?
Yes.
He does.
He does.
Have they got a bit of money behind them?
Yeah. So
in other words, if they get the price wrong, can they get it finished?
Yeah, they're on checker trade. And they've got accounts and so on. Yes.
And they've done basements before.
This particular one is seeing the property. I haven't asked him that direct question or seen any basements, but I will
there's a lot
do
of,
so.
Yeah. I would always,
Yes.
you always
Yes.
get 2 or 3 prices, I'm sure anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm just conscious that with the basement there is, it's a bit more specialist and so on.
John,
That's
the
fine.
thing with this basement is it's already there. It's got light. You can see from the picture.
Ranjan, I don't care how much light it's got, but I'm telling you now, I've done lots of basements and they are a challenge. And
Right, I have to disagree with my good friend John there. Now, I think he's getting a bit confused, and I'll tell you why. Basements are a challenge when you have to dig the things out. When you have to start from scratch and do digging, that is a challenge. The big thing about this particular property is it's Victorian property. the basement is already there. It was built to be habitable in Victorian times. Now, I've done many of these in Victorian properties, and you see fireplaces down there. It's full. They used to have kitchens down there and everything. So there's a complete difference between building a new basement, which is time-consuming, problematic, and expensive, as John rightly says. But that's a different level of complexity to basically bringing up an existing basement into modern standards. This particular basement already has light wells that were put in by the Victorians to bring in natural light, and all that's required is a little bit of tanking around the walls. There's no digging necessary. So generally, as a rule of thumb, if you have to dig, it's complicated and it's messy. If you don't have to dig and the basement's already there, then the work level is really within the scope of works of a good general builder.
I don't want you to slip up, and as my partner, I don't want Adam to slip up either.
I think you said later in the document that the vendor's very flexible with a subject to planning offer.
Yes.
Would that extend to subject to planning for the windows for the basement?
Yes.
And the
Excellent.
extension.
And the extension.
Yes.
That tells me you're paying too much for it.
Yeah, it's very generous in London.
That's what I know you've got a personal relationship with them, haven't you? So that may be it. Okay. I'm sounding a bit miserable, aren't I? And I don't mean to. Normally I'm a very positive person.
You know, on the basis that if you can do a delayed completion with a 5% deposit, we'd need to negotiate that. You know, I think that's a no-brainer of a deal if you could get that. It's a question mark over whether you could get that. So I think that needs to be explored. Are you opening to finding finance for the rest if we can do it?
The finance I can do in my name or whatever company name, no problem. Yeah.
Sure. No, okay. Brilliant. Well, I think there's a lot less money in than if you can get that deal. So I'll offer you all the money that's needed with creative financing at the 10% interest rate, and I'd ask for 65% of the deal profit.
Okay.
Wow, we got an offer on the table.
Thank you very much.
So very close to what you're offering.
Yes, thank you very much.
Everyone's playing their cards very close to their chest, aren't they, Yogesh?
Right.
I think you've done well here.
I'm enjoying this. So
I think you've got us eating out of the palm of your hand.
I like this.
Sure. Okay. So, I mean, I'm looking at it from kind of a return on GDV, you know, that kind of perspective. So for me, this deal is 22% return on GDV, 28.5% return on costs with the numbers that we've got so far. My concern, as we've touched on already, is what economic environment we're going into. And that's where kind of the timing, when I was asking about that, and appreciate Nicholas' input, that's where the timing on that is critical. If it can be done in 6 months, it's a very different proposition to if it can be done in a year because of what we're expecting. 10% drop in the market, if it does take a year, I'm down at a return on GDV of 14%. And that's where I'm kind of and ahhing. So on that basis, with what I'm looking at, I couldn't offer you something better than Nicholas has given you there. So
would you offer the same? And I'm also happy to change my profit share if the market dips and you can do an overage or whatever. I'm happy to kind of do that kind of scale if required. So if the market dips and I lose, I get less share. Does that make sense?
Very flexible approach, isn't it?
Sense? Yeah.
yes, it does.
Does that apply to me too?
You already offered.
Another point I'd like to make is I'd be prepared to share with another angel investor.
That's very good to hear. Thank you.
I would be open to that too.
Thank you very
Oh wow, 2 angel investors joining together.
much.
I don't share.
Oh come on, John. I mean, what is this? I mean, look, we're good pals. If you're watching this, let's share on a deal on one of the next episodes.
Thank you. I already knew that, John.
I think you have had a cracking offer from Nicholas. I would structure it slightly differently in as much that if I were you, I would form a joint venture company, and how much money are you going to would you put into the deal?
The 50,000 I can do.
I'll fund the rest. We buy it. We don't mess about with leases and options and Christ knows what else. It's so bloody confusing. We'll buy it, get the work done, bang them out.
I do agree with that approach. I mean, I think this deal does call for a little bit of simplicity in terms of the structuring and just getting on with it.
Cool.
Get them sold. If you put the 50 in, joint venture, I would take 60% and you get 40% of the net profit.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
I think I would be at a similar level to Nick. I would be more favouring to offer you that on my own, or to share that structure with one other, but I don't want, it's probably too many. It's not, it just
Doesn't want
becomes
John.
a little bit of a committee.
Yeah. Understand.
It becomes too many.
Yes. Understand.
So that's where I would be at. It's that 10%, 65 split and all that sort of stuff, but buy the thing outright, get main finance on the main thing,
Yeah.
and we'd provide the rest.
I'd do that with Ranjan.
Perfect.
Nicholas on his own. For some reason, they don't like you, which is interesting, Nicholas. I like you. I can't understand
Sowing divisions there, John.
it. We've got Helen who's decided to sit out this one. You got me, which is very straightforward, as I always am. You know, you put in 50 grand, I fund the rest, and we go 60-40 on the profit. These two both live in London. One's very local, both very experienced. Ranjan more experienced than Paul in terms of development, but together make a great team. And the finance certainly won't be a problem. So you've got 3 choices.
If you want to have a little think
Another
in the
option,
corner of
I'd
the
be
room.
willing to go to 60 on my own.
Okay.
Oh, dear me, that is sneaky, isn't it? That is very sneaky, just coming in at the end there with a sneaky counter. It's getting competitive. This is, in all the episodes I've done on this show, Yogesh is the only entrepreneur that has actually got offers of finance from every single angel. He's got a clean sweep, so he must be happy as Larry there. Let's see what he does. And if you want to do deals like this, there's a reason why all these smart angel folks are willing to back this deal, because commercial to residential conversion is a fantastic opportunity to create real value in property in the current market and going forward. Now, this is bread and butter for me. I run some specialist training on the subject, and I also run some free training on the subject. So if you want to get involved and find out more about this particular strategy, click on the link below and join us for that free training session.
That's a bit bitchy,
Just
isn't it?
stuck a knife in your back, Ranjan.
Well, I'd be willing to go to 60 on that.
Well, I'd be willing, and I'd be willing to do it with Ranjan at 60 as well. I don't mind. But I think 60 is fair. I think you need to make some money out of this.
Yeah. That's why I put it down in my proposal. Yeah.
You know what? He's got a nice smile. I'll agree with that. 60, and I'll do it with Paul.
Okay. Is 60 the best?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I think we'd be shooting ourselves in the foot if we came in and offered you better than you've asked for.
Okay. You never know.
But it's worth the ask.
I want
We
to
appreciate
ask.
that.
Yeah. Okay.
It's worth the ask.
So obviously you guys are higher, so it's difficult for me to choose you guys, to be honest. You two and you are similar level.
I hope you choose not just on the basis of price, but on the...
No,
Let me tell you why I initially said I'd go with Ranjan.
This is a real fight, isn't it? I mean, let him speak, for God's sake. I mean, it's a battle.
Rather than Nick, and that's mostly
Yeah, I'd
because
love to hear
I'm based
this.
in London and so is Ranjan.
Yeah,
And I want to do something in London. I know Ranjan has experience in London, so I think it's a good team given the location.
I think actually we're a great team, because you've got someone who knows about finance and property. You've got someone who knows PD.
God.
We'll
We'll
let them
stuff.
waffle on, Helen, and then we'll talk. We'll let them shoot themselves in the foot first. I think what they've failed to spot is the fact that with Helen and myself as a team, we also have huge expertise in micro studios and studio schemes. We have over 200 units.
We have that as well.
Throughout the Thames Valley. So
a couple of hundred of those.
I see
in
opportunity
M25.
here at building maybe 4 studios. We need to look at the site, work together.
Listen, guys. Ultimately, there's not much to choose between here. Yes, we both have these sort of experiences in doing commercial to residential conversion schemes and micro studios, small apartments for sale and rental. So when there is so little between the various angels in terms of experience, what's the deciding factor? Let's find out.
But I think there might be some GDV to be had here, and then look at onward selling the entire investment rather than individual units, which might be harder in the current market, giving you another solid exit.
Okay, that's an interesting point.
I'm letting my career speak for itself.
Okay, thank you.
But he might retire halfway through.
Harsh. If only I could.
I was going to sign, then you mentioned this potential avenue, so now I'm thinking about that. Because obviously if you increase the GDV, we will get more money. If you have that expertise, that's an interesting angle.
Keeping in mind, we can explore that too.
I
Yes.
don't know, don't you?
Okay.
It's getting very competitive, isn't it, in the room?
Don't you think we all might do that?
We'll all start with
but I've had to
the
tell them how to
baseline
do
on
it,
the
haven't I,
table and then
Yogesh? That's the
improve on
point.
Ranjan, would you be interested in a YouTube channel on this deal?
it. Couldn't believe it when he said that. Of course, if you invest, if we do a deal together, of course we'll follow it on YouTube because it really helps everyone share the learning and share the experience of doing these wonderful things. Well, of course I would. Yeah, I like a bit of publicity. Of course, it will get publicised. But in terms of look, that's by the by.
I didn't know he was on YouTube.
Has he got a YouTube channel?
I've never heard.
Yeah, we've got a YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're updated as soon as we upload a new video, because we put out new content every week. So just do that. I did my first commercial to resi conversion in 2005, and that was...
That wasn't that long ago then, was it?
And PD came in 2013. So I've done it the hard way under planning. When PD came on, it just became a lot easier. So, all of that... That was just a final bit of credibility to just lob into the ring there to see whether it changes the decision, if you like. But I'm making a serious point. I mean, a lot of people have come on to commercial to residential conversions quite late. They've jumped on the bandwagon. It became permitted development in 2013, but some of us have been doing it for a lot longer, much before that. Side of it is
I think it's decision time.
That's what I'm going with you guys.
I can't believe. Well done. Well done.
Now it's worth doing that deal just for the look on John's face. John, better luck next time. So of course we're going to track how this commercial to residential deal pans out in future episodes on this YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're notified as soon as we put out those videos. Tell us what you think about this particular deal. Comment below and all of that. And also, if you want to find out how you can benefit from the wonderful world of commercial to residential conversions, then join me on 90 minutes of free training that I'm running. Just click on the link below, property-workshop.com, and join me on that.
So, looking by the smile on your face, we've got a deal?
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic, congratulations.
Yes.
So who did you go for in the end?
So I went with Paul and Ranjan. I thought
Okay.
they were the best team with the most experience, and I think they helped me with future stuff,
Yeah.
which is really what I was looking for. And Ranjan's interested in YouTube channels, and so am I.
Okay.
So I'd like to go on some YouTube channels.
Did anybody else try and offer you anything as well, or was it just the two?
No, everyone offered me something, every single person.
Wow.
And I had my pick, and they were fighting over me at one point, and they were all quite silent at the beginning because I think they wanted to know what other people were going to offer so they could bid against them.